Well, there you all are. Well, hello, everyone, and welcome in to our Six Screen Sunday program. Wow, we're so glad you could come in today. We had a great program last night. This is our Sunday edition. My name is Rick Farron, and I'm coming to you from the hub of the universe, right up here in Boston, Massachusetts. And I tell you, it's a beautiful, cool fall day up here. I hope it's nice where you are. Boy, in New England, you ought to see the colors. The trees are starting to turn. Just a nice, crisp air. Got the window open in the studio. It's really, really good. So I'm glad we see some people coming in here already, and I really appreciate your presence. Well, we'll be doing our JW World News Sunday edition. Now, a lot is going on. I know I told you guys last night, a lot is happening right now in the Watchtower. It almost seems like they are dismantling themselves. We'll have to see. I mean, I've never seen it. I was a witness for a good part of 50 years of my life. And, it was a pretty even flow. Things went smooth for many years. But boy, as of late, all of the changes, all of the different rules and regulations and policies being changed around, things are really changing, as we would say, in the Watchtower. Well, anyways, I suppose we can get right into the news. Uh, we all know, I mean, I'm preaching to the choir here at times, but I'm sure you all have heard about no more reporting of time for the publishers. They won't have to report time anymore. Yeah, they just can go out on their own and do what they want. But I'm sure the Watchtower is not going to let them get away with murder. I'm sure the Watchtower is still going to want them to be out in field service or at least manning the carts. But already now that is supposed to start in November. November is when the no reporting of time would start. So technically, October is still a time reporting month. But guess what? Already I'm getting emails coming in. I'm getting information coming into the Six Screens showing that the turnout for service is really light. A lot of the witnesses evidently said, hey, phooey on this. If it's going to start in November, I'll start mine in October. I mean, they did say that it wasn't biblical. They couldn't find no biblical support to keep the hour restraint, keep you reporting. So a lot of the witnesses probably said, fine, I'll just start now. So anyways, I got some information here yesterday to the Six Screens concerning a congregation. Now, the person didn't tell me where this congregation was, but he went out in field service, which would have been yesterday, and all of a sudden, there's 6 people that show up. Now, that is certainly not the rule of thumb. He says usually on a Saturday, there'd be 20 people, 30 people, sometimes even 40 people. But 6, he said that was unusually low turnout for service. So you can see already witnesses are starting to say, hey, enough is enough. So let's talk about this for a second. Now, this might vary from place to place. I'm not saying every Kingdom Hall is going to have that type of low turnout. It certainly could vary from place to place. But I will tell you this. I speculate that this will continue as the months progress along. I feel there'll be more and more people that will not be showing up for service. So the numbers are going to be way down. And there's going to be what I would call a trickle down effect. Yes. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, let's just think of this. If you're out in service and you're out there busting your butt and you're traipsing all over the territory, knocking on doors everywhere you can find one, and I mean you are really going above and beyond yourself to get the ministry out there, to get the word out there of Jehovah's great tribulation. So you're busting your butt, but you're seeing that other witnesses are slacking off. So what's that going to do to you? I mean, think about it. You're working hard. They're slacking. Do you think that you would be backing off in time too? Yeah, it's going to rub off on you as well. So that's exactly what's going to happen. So the trickle down effect, you give it a few months, and I'll tell you what, I don't know if any witnesses will be out knocking on doors at all. And I'm guessing that I think the door-to-door work here I believe the door-to-door work will be non-existent in just a very short time. I don't know when, but of what value is it? Of what value is it? Did you like knocking on doors, talking to strangers? Maybe some of the audience did, but I mean, I knew so many witnesses. I didn't mind it. I mean, I was a salesperson. I didn't mind talking to people. But, a lot of people, some older sisters, younger kids, they didn't like going out. Even a lot of men didn't like going out and knocking on doors and trying to convert people into being one of Jehovah's Witnesses. So, I think it's only a matter of time, and door-to-door work will be done away with in the Jehovah's Witness organization. And, it kind of makes me jealous that, they cut back on reporting time. I wish they would have done that when I was a witness. That would have been a lot easier. Yes, it would have been a lot easier. I can guarantee you that. Lugging 5 kids around in service, getting them out of the car, in and out of the dog, in and out of the car, back home. Even when they were young, they wanted to take a nap. It was a chore to go out in service. But anyways, it kind of makes me jealous that the witnesses today don't have to worry about it. What a whole new organization, right? Don't you feel that this organization is changing big time? Well, I do, and I'm sure you guys do as well. And, we have reports that come in here every day. We're like a clearinghouse for Jehovah's Witness news. We have so many people send me news all the time, and thank you for doing that. My phone is always dinging with Facebook Messenger and with emails, so I thank you all for doing that, and I really appreciate it. Now, I want to just say this. I got some information this week about some kingdom halls, and one in particular, one congregation in particular. I can't really name the congregation to protect the people, but there were 3 reproved just this week. 3 were reproved and 1 disfellowshipped in a single night. Have you ever heard of that? Oh, I have. I've heard of numerous times where the whole body of elders have been removed. But here we have in one night, 3 reproved, 1 disfellowshipped. Can you imagine the Judicial Committee hearings today? It's not all about adultery. It's not all about smoking cigarettes. It's all about apostasy. There were people living in droves. They no longer want to be a Jehovah's Witness because they don't see any value in being a witness. They don't see that it's the truth. So they're packing their bags, and of course they're being investigated. Yes, they are. Elders and congregations have been put on notice to really investigate these ones that are doubting. The elders are becoming the thought police, as we mentioned last night. They're going to be looking at every move you make. If you're sitting at the meeting and someone makes a comment and you frown, or they can tell by the demeanor that you're not happy there at the meetings, and they can just tell by your facial expressions. Well, let me tell you something. They're watching you. The elders are the thought police. Now, it's not new. The elders have always watched for expressions. They did that with my first wife when we started doubting the Watchtower. And I can remember that, it was one elder in particular, him and his family would sit right next to me and my former wife, Inez, and they were watching every move she made because she was distancing herself first before me even. And after the meeting, the elder came up to me and said, "Rick, your wife is making expressions. She doesn't seem to be too happy with the answers that she's hearing." This was in the Watchtower study. He says, "I want you to talk to her about that and let her know that she shouldn't be acting like that." I said, "Well, you talk to her. You're the elder. Why don't you tell her that, you feel like she's having some doubts?" And he said, No, we don't do that. The husband is the one that takes the lead. So you are going to have to tell her to stop making those facial expressions. Oh yeah, they were spying on her. They were looking at everything she was even thinking. And they told her not to make remarks like that. So it was remarks that she would make, after someone made a stupid answer in the Watchtower, she'd say, "Oh, that was crazy," or some comment like that. And they picked up on it. They wanted to sit close enough to her so they could see not only her expressions, but also what she was saying vocally. And they picked up on it. So, I'll tell you what, I mean, these guys, I'm sure right now they are being totally instructed. Watch facial expressions on these brothers and sisters. Make sure they're commenting properly. Make sure they're not kind of mocking us or mocking people that are commenting. Yeah, this is all real stuff. Friends, this watchtower, this is not a loving organization. Do you think that would ever happen in a church? Do you think you would be spied on in a church? Absolutely not. So, but they're doing it. They're doing it in the watchtower. Wow. Well, the mystery box, we talked about it on the 6 screens a few weeks ago. The mystery box was open. And of course, there was a brochure, as we mentioned, in the box. And the brochure, well, they were trying to keep it a secret. And now it's out and people know what's in the box. They now did tell the publishers. But there was a brochure in the box, in that mystery box. And just to bring you up to speed, back in August, there was a box that was sent to the Kingdom Hall. It could be numerous boxes. Was sent to the congregation. They were told not to open the box. They were told not to open the box. I believe it was, I forget when it was, but I think they could open it the 1st of October or somewhere around there. So anyways, in the box, everyone was so excited that they could open the box. And there's a brochure in there. And the brochure is called Love People, Make Disciples. Now, this is a crazy title, don't you think? I mean, love people? Do Jehovah's Witnesses really love people? I mean, they might love you if you want to remain one of Jehovah's Witnesses, but they're certainly not going to love you if you seem to want to leave or you don't want to be a Jehovah's Witness anymore. So it's kind of a sneaky title, I would say. Love people, make disciples. And then the other thing I picked up on, make disciples, that's requiring you to go out in the field service. That's requiring you to go out and speak to people in your ministry. Now, they just relaxed the hours, but the timing here seems to be really good. So even though they relaxed the hours, the brochure is now telling you to make disciples. It's telling you to keep going out. Now, this is just a friendly reminder, I believe, and I don't even know if it's that friendly, but they need to remind the people that they still have to go out and service. And that's where I'm putting this brochure into play. I believe this brochure is a way to get people to go out, and so they can't relax. Because when you first heard it, if you were a witness and you first heard the governing body meeting the 1st of October, first week of October, and you heard that there's no more time reporting required for publishers, wouldn't you relax? Wouldn't you just sit back on your easy chair, lay down on the sofa, stay in bed a little longer on a Saturday morning? Yeah, so they know the witnesses are going to relax once that was announced. So now they come out with this brochure, and it's a guilt trip. I believe they're really trying to play on the conscience of the Jehovah's Witnesses. I mean, I want you to think about this. Just think about this for a minute or two. Now, suppose that you were in the Jehovah's Witness religion for 50 years, like I was. So you're in the religion for 50 years, and every week you went out in service. Every month you reported time, and all of a sudden they stopped it. You don't have to do it anymore. How would you feel? Would you just automatically stop? I think I would have. I think a lot of witnesses would, but some have a guilty conscience. Some will say, oh, gee, Jehovah, we got to get the word out. And of course, this brochure is going to get PMEs, those who are still physically in and mentally in. It's going to get these PMEs to even do more. That's a possibility. Well, you're on 6 screens. In fact, we do have a number of people on the telephone line. If you'd like to speak up and say something, all you have to do is hit *6. I'd love to hear what you have to say. I'd love to hear what you feel about this. And And anytime at all, just hit *6. You'll be on with us. But okay, we'll move on. We'll move on, and we'll talk about some other stories that are very important this week that have been being brought out in the watchtowers. How about the 2023 Scriptures for Christian Living? You say, well, what is that? Well, that's a brand new book on JW Broadcasting, update number 7 this month. They now released a book called 2023 Scriptures for Christian Living. I'm going to show you a video. Let me show you a video. Jeffrey Jackson, he's the governing body member. Well, he's the one that actually is, given the presentation for the book. He goes into a little narrative at first, all about the New World Translation and how the New World Translation is in so many languages and how so many people love the New World Translation. It's all a bunch of propaganda. But then he goes on, he wants to introduce the new book. So let's move up here a little bit. Let me just get the video started. Just give me a second. And what I'll do is I'll move it up. We got to go up about a minute, and then you'll hear about the new book. And then we'll talk a little bit about the new book. So just give me a second here to do this.
Welcome.
Hold on.
We have some exciting things to share with you in this update. I'm sure you'll find it very encouraging. This month makes the 10-year anniversary of the release of the Revised English New World Translation.
So we talked about the New World Translation for a while and what a great book it is, one of the best translations. But let's move up here a little bit. And I want you to see what goes on here when he talks about this new book, the 2023 Scriptures for Christian Living book. Let's start right about here, about 1 minute in. I think you'll find
yet another tool to help us quickly access the powerful message in the Bible. We all believe in the power of God's Word to give us comfort and guidance. Because of that, we have our favorite scriptures that we refer to over and over again. However, do you ever partially remember a Bible verse, but you're not sure where to find it? I know that happens to me. Or do you want to comfort someone with a verse that perhaps they don't often hear? If so, you'll be pleased to know that a new tool is being released. It has the title, Scriptures for Christian Living. This publication is similar in a number of ways to one that was released back in 1965. The book, Make Sure of All Things, Hold Fast to What Is Fine. The title page described that book as a compilation of scriptures from the Holy Bible under 123 main headings. Its purpose? The title page said, "This book may be used to assure yourself of the Bible teaching on these subjects, and also to answer those who challenge your faith." Make Sure was a well-loved publication. Notice what 2 publishers enjoyed about it.
I love this book. Its comprehensive lists of scriptures under topics.
Well, he loves the Make Sure book, so everyone's going to love this new book too, the 2023 Scriptures for Christian Living. Well, that was Jeffrey Jackson. My goodness gracious. But anyways, now this book is not intended to be placed in the ministry. This is a personal book. Remember the reasoning book? Remember when we had that and how many glued it, actually had it stitched in to their Bible. And when we're out in service, if someone asks us a question, we could refer to the reasoning book. So it's a collection of the Jehovah's Witness favorite scriptures, and they can get right to the point on it. Now, I'm seeing here that there's no mention at all in the book. I kind of thumbed through it. They had it online at jw.org, but there's no mention about time reporting and how they gave that new light on no more reporting time. That isn't mentioned in the book at all. And what the Watchtower is doing, let me tell you what I see the Watchtower really making a concerted effort to do. What they're trying to do, the Watchtower is distancing themselves from the public ministry. Now, just listen closely to what I'm saying. I think that you will agree with me on this. With all of those lawsuits they have on child molestation and sexual abuse in the Watchtower, the officials, the authorities, are starting to put the blame on the witnesses because on the Jehovah's Witness organization, I should say, because they're saying people who are out of the ministry, people engaging in activities with the witnesses, they are a member. So being a member would make the Jehovah's Witness organization and Watchtower responsible for these events and what goes on at these events. For example, if someone was actually raped, say a little child was raped or molested in the field ministry, the authorities could say, well, that's a sanctioned event by the Watchtower. So you are involved in this and you deserve to be sued. But by distancing themselves and saying that the people are not members of the Watchtower, they're not agents of the Watchtower, but by saying that this is their personal ministry, the Watchtower sees a little escape hatch here. They see a legal loophole. No, this is their ministry. They went out. We don't make them report hours. See, now reporting hours would make them like a member. You have to do that. But I think that's one of the reasons why they took it away, because that would make them a member. But by not suggesting to them, it'll be like a subcontractor in the world of business. Well, you can have a subcontractor work for you, but if you had no problem at all as far as the reporting of his hours. Now, if you said you're going to work for me 8 hours a day and you're going to do that, you have to report. If you're going to get paid, I need 8 hours a day. That would make him an employee. But if you just say no, just you're a subcontractor. You just work when you want. They're using the same line of reasoning there. They don't want to. They don't want to make you an employee, an agent, a member of the Watchtower. They want to say that this is your personal ministry. So that's what I see is going on here. So now they won't be blamed if something happens to someone in the field service. They can say, well, no, those people went out on their own. They're not required to go out in field service. You see, this is why I think they're changing things. You're on your own. You're not a member of the Watchtower. Now, that's why also they no longer have the ministry school, from what I understand. And remember, children used to participate in that. Maybe when you were a young child, you gave talks, right? So I'm thinking that's one reason why they probably gave the acts of the Theocratic Ministry School. So that because, see, young children, by them participating, that would be a Watchtower sponsored event. That would make the Watchtower liable for things that might happen to that child. So you see, it's all about money. It's all about the Watchtower. They could give two hoots of beans about you. So I'm just saying that the more I go over this, the more I see the Watchtower is sneaky as possibly can be. And I have to say, the Watchtower right now, they're on a tightrope. They are actually on a tightrope, and they're walking on it. And they're beginning to get a little knocked off balance with the things that they are saying. Now, in that book, this new 2023 Christian ministry book, there's something else that as I thumbed through it, I did not see any references at all to 1914 or any references at all to the blood doctrine. Now, in the reasoning book and in the Make Sure of All Things book, they explained the position on blood. So that someone at the door would say to us, well, why don't Jehovah's Witnesses take a blood transfusion? Well, we had scriptures and we thumbed through the reasoning book and the Make Sure book, and we were able to come up with an answer. And they also had on those two previous books, 1914. I mean, that is a central doctrine, one of the central doctrines of the Jehovah's Witness religion. But yet they don't even mention 1914 or the blood doctrine. It's been omitted in the new Christian ministry book. So, these things are happening for a reason. I'm just thinking out loud. Now, don't take it to the bank and cash it. But I'm just thinking out loud that the Jehovah's Witnesses are going to take a different position on blood transfusions. I think it's coming. I really do. I think it will happen. And I believe what the Watchtower is trying to do right now is they're trying to make it seem like the ones who refused blood and died were actually working with an oversensitive conscience. They're going to make it seem like it was their fault that they died. They could have taken some fractions, but they didn't. So they died, and their conscience was very oversensitive. So I believe that's what the Watchtower's position is right now, is they're moving away from the blood doctrine. And what they're going to do, if someone dies, well, that person really loved Jehovah, and they were very conscientious, but they're going to blame the person for dying. So they'll probably gaslight everyone on this issue, telling them it's always been a conscience matter when it wasn't. Now, we all know what gaslighting means, right? It's a form of psychological manipulation. Does the Watchtower use psychological manipulation? Of course they do. And it's with an attempt to confuse the victim's mind. Think about it. When they first came out 15 years or so ago with blood fractions, you could take certain blood fractions. Don't you think there was a lot of confusion? Don't you think that was a deliberate attempt to confuse the victim's mind? So they have to slowly get away from this blood doctrine. This is something that really prevents a lot of people from wanting to even be a Jehovah's Witness. So anyways, I believe that they started with blood fractions, confusing the people's minds, and now they're going to come out and say, well, we're not going to be disfellowshipping you for taking a blood transfusion. That is going to be strictly a matter of conscience. These guys, like I said earlier, are sneaky. This is why, there's going to be no need for them to apologize on anything. And a governing body member was just saying that recently. They don't really have to apologize. Sometimes things change. They always say new light and what have you. But they'll never apologize. And even if they change their position on the blood doctrine, and now it's okay, it's a conscience matter. Even if they change their position on it, they're never going to admit that so many people have died because of their instructions. They would never apologize to anybody. And I have a couple of good people I know that were my friends that died. One was a 22-year-old kid, really a young man, who died because he got leukemia and he couldn't get a transfusion. All of those that have needlessly died, I mean, how fair is that of the Watchtower? And how about their relatives? How are the relatives going to feel about this? Well, they'll just tell the relatives that, that was a conscience matter, and that friend of yours or that relative of yours that died, they were over conscientious, but they loved Jehovah, and they'll be back on the resurrection. So anyways, I wanted to just mention this. There's a statement in George Orwell's book. We all know George Orwell. He was the author of 1984. I'm going to read you this. Let me put it up here on the screen so you can see it. I find this very, very fascinating. This is what the Watchtower does to distance themselves from lies. That's a picture there of George Orwell. You can see him if you're on YouTube with us. And he says, everything faded into the mist. Well, this is from the book 1984. He says, everything faded into the mist. The past was erased. The erasure was forgotten, and the lie became the truth. Isn't that what the Watchtower does? The lie is now becoming the truth. They really mix your mind up. It's unbelievable what the Watchtower has done and has gotten away with. Boy, oh boy, oh boy. So there you go. Yeah, there's a lot of changes, man. I'm telling you, this is more than I have ever seen. And I was in a watchtower, like I say, for 50 years plus. But boy, they are changing like never ever before. And now they're even telling their members, they're telling the Jehovah's Witnesses that uh, members of the members of Babylon the Great can actually repent at the last minute. So what they're kind of suggesting is even if you leave the watchtower right now, and even if you got disfellowshipped, don't worry, you can come back right before Armageddon, and as long as you repent, you'll still be able to make it. So what Jeffrey Jackson said in his talk, his local talk on Update 7 off of their website, so anyone, according to Jackson, can repent during the Great Tribulation. So we're seeing all these terrible events come to the planet Earth. And of course, many people are wondering what's going on. But you can repent no matter who you are. And you can come back to Jehovah, or you can become a Jehovah's Witness. So does Jeffrey Jackson mean here that all members of any religion, of all religions, can actually repent and be saved during the tribulation? Yes, that's what Jeffrey Jackson's saying. Well, I'll tell you what. So, this ought to make it seem kind of like an in and out situation. A lot of people being witnesses, they don't like being one because they're afraid they'll die at Armageddon. But some can say right now, according to what Jackson has been saying, they can actually say, okay, well, I can leave, and as long as I get back in before all of this really hits the fan, I'll be accepted back. So I'm just thinking out loud. Uh, I don't know if I don't really know how the rank and file is taking this. I'm sure there'll be some that say, "Hey, listen, I don't want to be Jehovah's Witness. It's okay. I'll go out. I'll have fun. I'll get all the gusto in life I can, and then I'll come back at the last minute." And even Jeffrey Jackson said that on his update on the talk right off of jw.org. He says, "Yes, in the very last minute you can come back in, and Jehovah will accept you." Friends, I don't know. It's getting crazier, crazier by the minute. It's unbelievable. Well, anyways, I got some really good news. I think this is what really got me excited this week the most. Atlantis. Now, you have heard me mention Atlantis. You have heard Kim and Mike and some other apostates mention Atlantis. Atlantis is an insider at Watchtower, and Atlantis sends some of us apostates uh, information about what's going on behind the curtains. And mostly it had to do with announcements and reminders. Every month they would have announcements and reminders that they would read to the brothers and sisters in the Kingdom Hall. So, anyways, uh, I got an email from Atlantis yesterday. And at first I was a little saddened, but then all of a sudden I perked up and I said, man, this is good news. So this is what it says. This is reading his letter to me. Many people on the email list have wondered why they're not receiving documents on a normal basis. Well, I was thinking that too. I wasn't getting documents from Atlantis like he was always sending me. And he says the reason is, now listen to this. Listen closely to this. He says the reason why he hasn't been sending documents is because the elders who are assisting him have all stepped down. So all of the elders that were giving him information have stepped down. They faded. Well, he says they entered mental hospitals. Now, Atlantis is a straightforward guy. He doesn't try to embellish or over amplify things. But I mean, this idea of some have entered mental hospitals, they've broken down. Some of these men have been with the Watchtower for so long, and all of a sudden they see the Watchtower changing so much. So these elders are stepping down, they're fading. And according to him, some have actually entered mental hospitals. So that's why he says they can no longer get documents because they had to step away from the Watchtower organization. Well, that's not bad news. That's not bad news. I'm taking that as good news. Yeah, some say that they just can no longer stand on a platform and lie to the congregations. Isn't that something? Isn't that something? I think that's an amazing letter they got from Atlantis. So something isn't smelling right at the top, right? Something is very much discombobulated in the Watchtower organization. So, yeah, we see that all of these changes, people, the Watchtower is hemorrhaging. The Watchtower seems to be on life support. They're just barely making it by as of late. Now, you know I'm a businessman. I told you that. I'm in the sign advertising business. And, I've always studied the 5 stages of a business collapse. Well, I'm seeing that the Watchtower right now is in the 5 stages of a business collapse. Well, you say to me, well, Rick, what stage is the Watchtower in? Well, I'm going to tell you in stage 5. I'm going to give you my little narrative here. I think it's very important you hear that. Now, I have to tell you, you say, well, will the Watchtower ever go out of business? Of course it can go out of business. We know it's only a business masquerading as a religion. Let me give you an idea. There are big companies that have gone out of business. Did you ever hear of Sears and Roebuck? Did you ever hear of J.M. Fields? W.T. Grant? How about Enron? Have you ever heard of them? There's big, giant companies, friends. How about Studebaker? That was a car. Many of you guys probably can't remember that. But there's many, many companies that have gone out of business. Oh, and they thought they were wonderful. But somehow they decline and they disappear. They decline gradually in a process involving 5 stages of failure, which are also the reasons why many businesses fall. Now, I'm going to give you the first stage. And then I'm going to tell you when it happened in the Watchtower. The very first stage of a business collapse, the business owners or the people running the organization, they become too overconfident. Yes, this is called the hubris stage. The hubris stage. Arrogance runs rampant, and they regard the success that they have as virtually an entitlement. Oh, we have been so successful. Oh, this is wonderful, aren't we? They become like narcissists, but they start even thinking that, oh, we got it made in the shade. And, they think they can pull anything over on people and people will just continue to do business with them. Well, stop right there, Watchtower. I'm going to tell you when the first stage, at least in my way of thinking, of the Watchtower collapse started. I believe it was back in 1975. Yes, I do. Let me play you a little clip from 1975. Hopefully you'll be able to hear it. They couldn't hear it last night, but I want to hear it. I want to see today if we can't get that played for you. Listen. This is Fred Franz. Then you'll hear from a district overseer, a man named Senutko. This is Fred Franz. See if you can hear the clip. Well, how are you reading that? Let's get real. You want to talk about arrogance? You want to talk about arrogance? That is about as arrogant as you're going to get when you stop and think about it, right? Boy, oh boy, oh boy. Well, anyways, I have to tell you that That's what the Watchtower was back in 1975. Very, very arrogant, and they thought they could pull it all off. Well, we'll just tell the people that 1975 is it. And what did people do? They went out, they sold their homes, they became need graders, they put all of their resources, all of their time and money and efforts into 1975, and the Watchtower knew darn well that it was just nothing but a big hoax, and that was to get people to come back to Jehovah, or get more people to come in, and it worked. So that's stage one of a 5 stages of business collapse. And that's what the Watchtower was in when I feel it started. I really feel it all started. It's just me saying this now. I feel it all started back in 1975. Let's move on to stage 2. I'm going to use the word here, overreaching. Do you know what it means to overreach, for a business to overreach? It means in order for them to continue to get better, in order for them to make more money, they have to resort to deceit and trickery. They've got to outwit the customer. A lot of this is happening right now with a lot of businesses. They're trying to outwit the customer. So this is phase 2 or stage 2. Now, I'm going to tell you, what can I say the Watchtower did in stage 2, and when did they do it to actually overreach? I'm going to go with the generation. I'm going to go back to 1995, and I'm going to say, wait a minute. 1995, they started playing around the generation. They kept moving the goalpost. Now, we all learned that the end of the system was going to be here before all of the anointed ones died off, or all of those that were around in 1914. Well, that never happened. The years kept moving forward and forward, so they had to keep moving the goalpost. So that was pure trickery. That was overreaching. Again, continuing to think they could pull the wool over people's eyes with this overlapping generation. That was a dud. There's many witnesses today that can't even explain what the overlapping generation is. All right, let's move to stage 3. Stage 3. Well, ignoring or misreading the signs. Now, in stage 3, there's going to be customers, or in this case, the Watchtower publishers, that are not wanting to be part of their organization anymore. But the Watchtower is overlooking it. They're ignoring it. They're misreading the signs they're seeing. Well, what signs were they seeing, but they were misreading them? Well, what about the anointed being, skyrocketing in numbers? My goodness gracious, back in 2005, there was like 8,000 anointed. In last year, there was 22,000 anointed. Those numbers were supposed to be going down, but yet they were going up. And how about the numbers dwindling? How about all the people that are leaving the Watchtower? They think they're continuing to grow, but they're hemorrhaging. And what about the mounting lawsuits? Well, they're ignoring them. They're misreading it. They think they're going to clear this all up. It's not going to happen. So I'm just throwing that on the table. I'm telling you about the 5 stages of business collapse in the Watchtower. Let's move to 4. Overcorrecting. What happens when a business is in stage 4 of collapse? They begin to overcorrect. They begin to start questioning the members of the board. They start kind of saying, where did we go wrong? We must have made some mistakes. We're losing people. Something's not the same anymore. So now the governing body has actually made statements in the last few years. Yeah, they've made statements concerning the fact that they are not infallible. They are certainly able to engage in sin. They're letting their publishers know that. And also when they mentioned, start in 2017 or 2013, when they mentioned And you guys can remember this too. In 2013, the first time I saw this mentioned in the Watchtower, that the governing body wanted you to believe them, even though the things that they were saying wouldn't be sensible. But they said it wouldn't be sensible or logical from a human standpoint, but just go along and believe us. I mean, that's pretty much overcorrecting themselves, right? Yeah, it really, really is. So that is phase 4, or stage 4 of the business collapse. But where is Jehovah's Witness organization now? Where is the business in the stages of business collapse? They're at a stage 5, surrendering. I'm going to use the word surrendering. Yes. Now, they're surrendering. They're beginning to almost cry uncle. They got their hands up. They want to keep people in. They don't want people leaving. They're losing customers as businesses would. But in this case, the organization, the Watchtower, is losing publishers left and right. So they're surrendering. No more hour reporting. Don't have to report hours. They're surrendering. You can leave now. You can leave, and then you can come back before Armageddon and still be saved. And what about Tony Morris? I mean, I think that's an act of surrender. They got rid of him. They probably said, hey, he's doing us no good. We got to do something here to keep the people coming. So you can see, I'm going to tell you, I'm going on the record. The organization, as I see it right now, is disassembling itself. Why would they disassemble themselves? All of these things has happened. I'm really thinking that they feel it might be best to kind of get out when the going's still somewhat good. Other than that, they're probably all going to end up in prison somewhere. So relax the standards, do what's necessary, keep some loyal ones, build the retirement centers. But it might be right now that Jehovah's Witnesses is crying uncle. That's my thoughts. I mean, don't take it to the bank and cash it. You might have different thoughts. If you do, I'd like to hear from you. If you're on the line with us and you'd like to call in, let me give you the telephone number. I'm going to put my number up here. If you'd like to dial in, why don't you call in and talk to us today and let us know what you think? I mean, I know a lot of people are very concerned with all of these things that are happening well, if you want to call into the program, go ahead and do it. We'll take your calls. Go ahead and run with us. It looks like Phoenix, Arizona. Go ahead, Phoenix. All right, let's go. It looks like 602. Is that 602? Is that you, Gilbert? I can hear you now. Yep. Go ahead. I can hear you now.
Yeah, but I can't hear you.
You can't hear me.
Hey, but that's fine. But you and I have talked about Sears, Roebuck, many times on this show.
Yeah.
I can't hear you, but that's fine.
Oh, that's funny. I'm surprised.
And so anyways, make a long story short,
yeah.
You're talking about business. Rick, what happens when your bank tells you, Rick, we're going to cut your credit line because we don't like the way your business is going. We don't like the way the industry is going. We don't see your business plan going to be able to pay off your loans. So you need to come up with a new business plan. You need to come up with a new strategy so that way we can continue lending you the millions of dollars. And so maybe the people who own Watchtower, their shareholders, their banks and everything, maybe that's what they're telling them, that we don't see a future being associated with you. You need to change. What do you think about that? And I'll leave.
Well, no, I like it. I don't know if you can hear me or not, but I think it's sensible. What you're saying is sensible. It's just changing so much, Phil. Can you hear me now, Gilbert? I guess not. I'm not sure why. I wish you could hear me, but my phone might. Hold on one second. I'm going to try something.
All participants are muted, and they can unmute themselves.
Okay, let me unmute myself here. Hold on one second. Maybe I did mute myself by mistake. *6. Hold on.
Unmuted.
All right, I think that's better now. I think you guys can hear me. It looks like we have who wants to speak up? 615. You're on with us. Go ahead. Does 615 want to speak up? You with us? How about 513?
Yeah, I'm here, Rick.
Oh, there you are. Well, that's the king of dots. Always good to hear from you.
Yeah, I had to talk because Gilbert was hogging the conversation. I had to speak up,
Yeah.
But I'm basically saying, unfortunately, Watchtower is the Americanized Christianity. And it's kind of coming out. They always claim to be different, as you know. We're better than them because we're different. Now, unfortunately, they're not different anymore. They're asking for money as much as they can. They're changing all their strategies, their business model, as you've been telling people about. Unfortunately, why would anybody switch to them if they're not different anymore? And so they have to hold on to some of these differences, like, the blood transfusions, what they adopted, in the early 50s? Isn't that right, Rick?
Late 40s, yep.
Yeah, the early 50s or late 40s, whatever. And that was after World War II, of course, when they developed powdered blood, I believe, and add water to it or something. And they tried to be standing out some of the doctrines, basically. But again, there's only so much they can change because their whole business model is made on we're better because we're different. We're not like the competition, So that was basically what I was going to say. So I don't expect too many more changes. A little bitty numeric changes. Possibly Kim Mikey said that it may be changed in 607, which 607 was basically adopted because 1914 didn't come. So they had to run the numbers backwards about 20 or 30 years. So it didn't look too bad. So I really don't expect too many more changes. And as far as disfellowshipping, I just made a comment to somebody. There was a brother at our hall who I assisted in studying with. He had run over his little kid. I graduated high school with him. He ended up having sex with 10 girls under the age of 20 at my hall, including my stepdaughter. She told me about it. And he got almost all private reproofs. Now, they've already been trying to rig the numbers by not disfellowshipping as many people. That's a fact. And that's what they're doing to try to make it not look so bad. But again, if you're an apostate, you're gone. You're done. You will be the first to go. And they've got a criteria, apparently, that we're not aware of. But apostates, and I guess the bottom of the list are the sex offenders, interestingly, isn't it?
Very interesting.
That's all I've got to say, Rick.
Well, that's a mouthful. Thank you, King of Dots. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Did 615 want to take a shot at it? Go ahead, 615. 615.
I was just going to say, Rick, that Watchtower is indeed due to what you've been bringing up. It makes a lot of sense. I really appreciate the analogy or using the business model of failure because they are a business and they're failing. They're failing big time. And I don't even understand. I guess it's like loyal customers. I used to have a lot of Sears tools being an auto body because they it was like a shortcut to get to the expensive, like say Snap-on brand, right? But the point I'm making is I dealt with them for a while until, when the company went belly up, it's like, well, there goes Craftsman. But like the witnesses, it's like their company's going to go belly up and they're still going to go, well, where do we go? They're lost and confused. They've been shepherded their whole life and haven't had a mind of their own. And I do worry about them a little bit. A lot of them have been selfish for the kingdom, and that part of me doesn't have sympathy for them. But I do have even sympathy for my wicked parents. That I don't think anybody really likes serving this corporation, and now that they're falling apart, it's like I think this is the point where the murmuring is going to happen really big, Rick.
I'm with you, Eric. I really am. Hey, thank you very much for coming into the program this afternoon. Thank you. Well, we're going. Thank you. Okay, we're going to wrap it up here. We're going to go to the Christian court. Now, don't you guys leave. Mention the word Christian, and all of a sudden, a lot of people head for the mountains. But in Christianity, there's a lot of peculiar thoughts People can head in different directions. They have different ideas, different interpretations. Well, we got two scholars coming up next on the court. You want to join us, and we get some peculiar Christian questions. We'll be asking them and getting an answer from them. So thank you for coming in. Thank those two for coming in and speaking up. So stay with us. We're going to go right to the Christian court. If you're on the Six Screens video suite, if you're on our radio telephone network, stay right there. If you're on YouTube, we'll be right back, and Facebook as well. Thank you. All right. We're going to end it here. Let's end it right here.